Today's task is to create a HTTP load balancer. So there are multiple steps, so follow along. First step is to create an instance template. So go on to the hamburger icon, click on compute engine, and then go on to the instance template. Now create your first instance template using this button. Give the name as just instance template or the predefined one. Select the type of machine configuration as N1. Make sure the machine type is N1 standard D1. Make sure the instance type is N1 standard 1. Do not select any other option. Doing so might block your access to the lab. Now, under the identity and API control access, choose no service account. Now click on the down arrow to expand the advanced options. In the management tab, in the automation script here, a- use the automation script to install its Apache 2 and rename the basic file of Apache 2 to Welcome to GCP Labs, and the text is served from VM hostname. Now keep the other options as is and click on create. Your instance template will be finally created. Now we have to create an instance group. So to do so, we can directly go to the instance group option on the left side here, or we can click on more actions and create instance group from here. So I will follow the hamburger option. So go on to instance group, create your instance group, give the name as instance group 1. The default one is fine. Now select the instance template as the one you created. Now keep the location as is. In real time, you should always choose multiple zones to achieve high availability. You can change the zone to Central 1A or 1C was also fine. Keep the auto-scaling mode as is, but change the maximum number of instances to 2. Now expand the auto scaling signals in CPU utilization in the target or CPU utilization from 60 to 80, which means when once your CPU utilization goes up above 80%, new instances should add up. Keep the rest of the settings as is and click on create instance. Now the next step is to create a firewall rule. To do so, click on the hamburger option, go to VPC network and click on the firewall button. On the top, click on the create firewall rule. Give the name as HTTP allow. Now turn off the logs. The name is already in use, so use something else. -1 to separate a name. Choose the direction of traffic as ingress and action on match as allow. Choose targets as all instances in the network and enter the source IPv4 range to 0.0.0.0/0, which means all HTTP traffic is allowed on port 80. So allow port 80 in the ports and protocol, select TCP and give the port as 80, which is the HTTP port. Keep the all of the other options as is and click on create. Now we have to create an external IP address. For that, go to the search option and search IP addresses. In the VPC network IP addresses, click on reserve external static IP. Give the name as HTTP LB IP. Select the network tier service tier as premium and IP version as IPv4 and the type as global. At this point, we are just reserving the IP address, not attaching it to our load balancer. Once we configure the load balancer, then we will attach the IP. Click on reserve and reserve your static external IP address. Now the next step is to create the load balancer. So go on to the search button and click on the load balancer icon. Now click on create load balancer. Choose the type of load balancer as application load balancer and in and choose in the click next. In the public or internal facing, choose the public facing. Click on next and in the global or single region deployment, choose global best for global workloads. Click on next. In the load balancer generation, select the global external application load balancer. Click on next and click on configure. Give the name of the load balancer as GCP labs load balancer and click on IP addresses. Select HTTP load balancer IP and click on add frontend IP and port. Give a new frontend IP and port. Give the name as LB frontend. Keep the protocol as HTTP and select the IP addresses as HTTP LB IP. Click on done and in the left section click on backend configurations and click on the drop down menu and click on create a backend service. Now give the name as GCP labs backend. Keep the other settings as is and under the backend section choose the instance group that you created earlier. Instance group, enter the port number as 80 and 8080. Click on create. Before clicking create, uncheck the enable cloud CDN. Click on health check drop down and create a health check. Give the name as GCP Labs health check. Keep the other options as is and click on save. Now click on create. To close the backend configuration, click on the OK button. Leave the routing rules as is and click on create to finally create your load balancer. I forgot to provide the name of the load balancer. Just type GCP Labs LB. Now, creation of the load balancer will take some time. So now that the load balancer has been successfully created, click on the name of the load balancer and copy the frontend IP without the port number and paste it in a new tab. You will see that the connection is not reachable because the load balancer will take some time to load be available in all edge locations. Wait for a couple of minutes and try refreshing the page after that. Now that the load balancer has been reachable, you will see the output that we gave in the automation script. Thank you. So many HTTP load balancers support session persistence, which ensures that a user's requests are consistently directed to the same server during their session. This is crucial for application data that rely on the session data. And to delete the lab, start from the reverse. So first delete the load balancer and go back up. Thank you.